Yo, good or good, I don't know if this has ever happened to you. When you hear an idea claiming to be fresh and new, well, to have a little aftertaste, a little nasty Roland of déjà vu or déjà vomi. Oh, but your soup is disgusting. Oh, and the vegetables are rotten. Yeah, but the mug is new. I don't know. As if changing the terms or wrapping it all up in a nice package could make us think differently. Remember that of all the great causes, I was one of the first to stand up against those white hooded racists. But if I'm here today, it's to support a popular movement, that of the white caps. What a wonderful group of people, isn't it? And don't come telling me that white caps, white, it's the same thing. No, just the initials alone already? Well, no, but you, as usual, television is a breeding ground for great champions in this field. Lost in complete dissonance, suffocated in a very thin delirium, very, very thin, the delirium, and with a lobotomized mind completely locked in.
Bonjour, Candice.
Bonjour.
14 musicians fired in Great Britain because they're white and whatever the color. Of course, that sentence is shocking. Well, a little bit, it is still shocking. Well, on the substance, that's fine. For ideas like that, I've been voting yes for a long time. But here, they got the color wrong.
It's about the English touring opera, which is parting ways with its 14 white musicians. Many of them, by the way, have played in the company for over 20 years, and so it decided not to renew the contracts of its musicians.
There, too, I think there's something shocking. No? Yes, Candice Mahou, she's a chef with 2 F's. Yes, but no, it's written in big letters right below fired because white. Even though they just said those were non-renewed contracts, I know. Basically, it's almost the same thing, because they lost all their sources of income at once. Still, it's not exactly being fired.
It's the Daily Mail that broke the story and published in full the letter that the company's director, James Conway, sent to his 14 musicians, who are all still between 40 and 60 years old.
Between 40 and 60 years old? That seems less serious. There's almost a hint of disgust towards those people in the way Candice Mahou says it. How old is the lady, our boss? She's 45, she's in that age group. But still, be careful. That's a good age to be called boss, right? Honestly, on construction sites, boss is just a title to flatter someone who doesn't actually decide anything. It's not a real distinction. Oh, come on, maybe she earned her position. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Even though it's true that as a presenter, she's terrible, actually. She stumbles over her words, she puts everywhere, she forgets words, she repeats herself all the time. Yeah, it's not very professional.
And she explains the company is going through major changes, so now the company will prioritize greater diversity in the orchestra.
So I guess skin color, sex, gender, disability, bad breath, you need a representative sample of the country. But suddenly, I still hope, at the same time, that they focus at least a little on music theory skills. But if that's the case, the auditions shouldn't be easy. So I need a black person on piano. Well, yes, you. Perfect. Excellent, right? Are you gay or trans? Maybe visually impaired? Stutter? No, you don't have any small disability, no? Woman, he's not making any effort. The black guy? There. Oh, seriously. Besides being lazy, nothing. You're lucky that I'm a great humanist, huh? You still get the part. Come on, next. Well, a yellow dwarf diabetic on the double bass. Where are the dwarfs?
Because constant progress has already been made in this area. On stage, so you understand, now we have to tackle the fake one with the musicians.
Well, on stage, there's at most the idea of visual representation. That's where the idea comes from sometimes for some people to put on blackface. Not a good idea? No. The Jew? No, but on the other hand, in the pit we don't see the musicians, but we hear them. That's where the idea comes from, maybe to prioritize skills rather than gender or skin color.
But he mentions strict guidelines, he says, from the Art Council. The Art Council is kind of the supreme authority for the arts over there, saying that, well, the Art Council specifically asks for diversity to be prioritized.
And what next? If little by little diversity has to take precedence over competence, isn't that going to turn into a circus? Is that so? Are quadriplegics going to come and demand a violin? Or asthmatics a tuba? And that would be normal. And that in every profession, I don't know, for example, why don't we have obese flight attendants, for example? It's already been tried. But during a crash simulation, when it was time to deploy the slide, she got stuck in the emergency exit. All dead. Go ahead and laugh, it'll happen anyway. And this word competence that you like so much, well, we'll ban it. Blind fighter pilots, pygmies in the NBA. Sandrine Rousseau as president, we're going to have a good laugh.
It's true that the ARS Council still largely funds them to the tune of £1.5 million sterling.
Well, financial pressure. Yes, it was either that or they funded music lessons for all the children in the country and supported the most disadvantaged. Then with a scholarship. But well, for what purpose? Oh yeah, and then just like that, one day it naturally becomes representative. What nonsense!
But the ARS Council said we never asked for anyone to be fired, and of course we don't make our funding conditional on that kind of thing, on layoffs, of course.
Basically, they must have said something needs to change, and on the opera's side they panicked. No, not the money, not the money. We can agree that renewal is necessary, that diversity needs to be more present. But here there's still a problem with the method, isn't there? Toussaint is going to be a bit of the voice of reason, but even in what he's saying, there's a bit of a problem with the method. Diversity needs to be established. If we really believe something is positive, maybe there are better ways than forcing it.
Exactly. So this isn't an isolated case. Do you remember Amanda Gorman, the poet we discovered at Joe Biden's inauguration? She read her sublime poems. Now she's being translated widely, even in the Netherlands. The publishing house chose a white female author to translate her, sparking major controversy. By saying that a white female author cannot understand the power of what Amanda Gorman went through and cannot translate her correctly.
But what exactly did Amanda Gorman go through? Daughter of a teacher, good education, quickly put in the spotlight, and at 22, she recites a poem for Joe Biden's inauguration. Tough, well, she's a descendant of slaves. She went through a lot of things through her ancestors. The thing is, if her text can't be properly understood by a non-black translator, then they can't be properly understood by regular non-black viewers either. Well, yes, we can't grasp the power of black suffering behind what she's saying. So, according to you and those who think like that, since I'm the grandson of a deportee to Buchenwald, and that's true, in any case, you can't understand me, right? So when I speak, just shut up all the time. To choose to have her recite it, a poem understood only by a minority, but at the inauguration of the President of all Americans. Well, that kind of falls under the... It's also the choice of an old white president who didn't really understand what he was asking her to say.
Well, that's kind of what we're talking about today, so, well...
Actually, no, it's quite the opposite. She doesn't understand anything at all, Candice. She's making connections, Candice. That's all, if we follow that logic. Amanda Gorman, that means that opera and classical music born in Europe played exclusively by white people for generations. Well, according to that logic, it can't be assimilated and understood by black or Asian people. My poor Candice.
And let's be clear, for example, in companies today, who wants to go work in a company where the board, the executive committee is mostly white men over 50? No one, actually.
Well, where do I start? Well, people over 50, I don't know. That seems just a little bit logical to me. An executive committee then, which has to lead, well, relies a little bit on experience and therefore on seniority. And to gain that, well, you still have to let the years on your clock tick by a little. Otherwise, you get a 40-year-old president who's clueless and self-centered. It also seems like a logical career step to me. If you put 20-year-olds directly on the board of directors, what will you do with them? When they get older, do you make them interns? Or at worst, just leave them on the board of directors for life? But there will come a day when they turn 50. What do we do then? Pfft, the old people. We should just get rid of them, actually, when they're young. Even, the idea, the girls. And as for the white men part, maybe it's because, I don't know, but 30 years ago at the start of their careers, they were the majority. If it's a problem, well, it's a problem from the past, and only time can fix it. And actually, since the trend has reversed in recent decades, at least between men and women, well, it's starting to change. Well, yes, our boss, Candice Mahou, 45 years old, she will soon have enough experience to join a
executive committee.
By the way, she says that nobody wants to work for white men over 50 years old, which means obviously that the executive committee of BFM TV must already be full of women, young people, and people of color. Yeah, okay, there was one woman, maybe 2 or 3 who are around 45, but the majority are white men over 50 years old.
The executive committee is mostly made up of white men over 50. No, nobody. Actually,
I think the most humane thing would be to fire her. She's suffering, she doesn't want to work for this patriarchal executive committee. I recognize them, I put them down. Animals that suffer, but here that's not the case. It's not an animal that's suffering, it's just an idiot who's suffering.
actually, it's an issue that's playing out everywhere.
It's not that I don't trust, but maybe it's going to be a bit of a mess. To replace all the important positions in the West held by white men over 50 years old, in other words, all the important positions in the West with young women of color. Suddenly, bro, in that gap, there are tons of unemployed people. We could run the country. That might be a solution, since experience and competence don't seem to matter now. With the current unemployment rate, maybe there's a way. Come on, there are some competent people. Me, for example, I could be the chief executive officer of a big company like Bison Fute. Yeah, I already manage traffic.
And of course, there's a backlash that's extremely harsh. But mechanically, sometimes we're going to have to go through that.
Now she's overreacting. Candice is useless. She stammers, can't find words, and makes mistakes. Maybe since she's Zephok's boss, no one says anything.
That's actually a good thing in itself.
But the swing back, that doesn't mean anything. A swing back, a pendulum, for the image, it's like this, you see, hop. The swing back of a pendulum is just the other side, but it doesn't change anything. It's exactly the same. A swing back. In my opinion, she probably meant pendulum swing, but I'm not sure. She could improve her segment.
Yes, it's extremely harsh, but unfortunately, we'll have to go through this kind of swing back for things to move forward too.
No, but we don't finish. Her intervention ends with what? I don't know. And then she repeats exactly the same sentence with the same mistakes, repetitions all over the place. I get that it's live. She has a cheat sheet and reads the entire time, yet still manages to say nonsense. I'm starting to get annoyed with her. Seriously, what is this level of television Mahou? Who is Candice? Kitty, kitty, kitty. She can't be the head of the culture department at BFM television. It brings everything down. The people watching her must be shocked. Or maybe, at most, some people must think she's a Candice grower. Wait, that's better. Actually, she's the head of the culture and showbiz department at BFM television. No, seriously, that explains everything. Actually, they made fun of her. That's what I've been saying from the start. The day they combined culture and showbiz into the same position, it meant they didn't care anymore. They definitely gave up on one of the two.
Is actually a good thing in itself.
Actually, when you listen to her and notice her mediocre speech and her not-so-great French, there's definitely a moment when you think she's only here because of connections. That's gonna sting a little. It's gonna be tough when she gets replaced by a person of color. Even if the human resources director is completely drunk, he'll have a hard time finding someone less competent. Add to that how she so willingly accepts the firing of white men. Come on, get out. Well, you have to admit at some point that she's in that position just because she's a woman and she knows it, which in my opinion is true. Plus,
it's shocking, and honestly, I'm caught between two swings of the pendulum owing something to that situation.
Setting quotas like that and pushing incompetence to the top, it ultimately harms the original intent. Fortunately, capable women compensate for it, making things easier.
And I
tell myself that these truly competent, deserving women must be a little disgusted. That by association, some people think they only got their position because of what they don't have between their legs. Candice Mahou then? Does she deserve it because of her pussy? That's low, right? Wait until she becomes the top boss at BFM television or even the supreme leader, Candice Mao Zedong. Fortunately, the overall level of current television journalism is, except for a few outliers, extremely low. Still, that doesn't stop them from trying. They keep telling us what to think even though they struggle with reasoning. PARADOXA.